Jacob here from Packernet Podcast, guys. We thought we would just do a little live stream. We're testing out some new systems here and trying to get ready for the upcoming season. We thought we would go live on Twitter and just see what the quality was like. So if you guys want to hang out with us, that's awesome. If not, no big deal. But Jacob, let's do this. Let's play a little soundbite from Coach Matt LaFleur yesterday, and we'll just talk a little camp here.
It's always part of our process, and that's part of the conversation in terms of just that load, because you want to build this up over time. And like I told you guys initially, a lot of times us as coaches want to throw as many reps at them as possible. But I think if you look around the league and just look at the teams that are most successful throughout the course of the season, and it's about keeping your team healthy. I mean, that's a big part of it. The teams that are typically standing at the end of this thing are usually some of the healthiest teams. So, you certainly want to callous your guys and stress them and make it uncomfortable throughout training camp, but also be mindful of that it is kind of a marathon and not necessarily a sprint.
All right, Jacob, man, that's the frustrating part, right? We sat through it last year, obviously. You could hear that sound, right, Jacob?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So, last year they started off slow. You come out, you get boat raced in week 1 against the Saints, and everybody's going, see, you should have played in preseason. But at the end of the day, I was thinking about this the other day. I was going, you know what? I think it worked. The team performed pretty well. I mean, another 13-win season. It's hard to get much better than that. Did it really affect them that much in the preseason? And I don't remember any preseason injuries. Do you?
No, not really. And I'll be honest, I was one of those guys that was kind of harping like Rodgers needs at least a little bit of time. First game, the first week against the Saints came up. I was like, I was right. And then you watch what he did the rest of the season, and no, I was wrong. And so, I don't know what I think. The only reason that I may be contradicting myself now is because the fact that we have 5 wide receivers, basically pick which one is going to be the number one. I don't know. And that being said, maybe they need a little more time. Maybe they need time against live action, some actual, guys trying to thump them, trying to bump them, trying to mess their day up kind of thing. So I'm looking at the preseason as maybe more of a test to see what we have versus previous years when we knew what we have.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of give and take, like we said, it's something that I was one of those guys as well, and I was one of those guys a couple of years ago going, yeah, everybody acts like Rodgers doesn't need to play. And look, he didn't play in the preseason, and look what happened. And then lo and behold, he wins back-to-back MVPs. So
right. Like who are we to talk? He won 2 MVPs.
Right. Hindsight's 2020. Right. So, I mean, as far as camp battles and things like that, is there anything that's kind of come to mind for you as far as what's one of the things that kind of stands out to you, coming into this camp? I know we just got through cutting a podcast and we're going to get that out to you guys, but just curious as to, is there anything that stands out to you, with this camp so far, other than Romeo Doubs taking over the world?
Well, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is the wide receivers, obviously. So, I'd love to see Christian Watson out there. I'd like to see some Moratori doing more stuff. I haven't heard much about Cobb, but it's encouraging. Again, I'm going to, as long as I can, Juwan Winfrey, he's my guy. So if he blows up, I want you to hear it first. It's from me. I told you that. And so, no. But more interesting, I think, is the offensive line battle. Just seeing how they shift guys around. Obviously, we're playing without our 2 best people right now. Trying to figure that 5-man starting lineup is really hard if you don't have Jenkins, if you don't have Bakhtiari. So trying to puzzle together what that lineup will be. It's encouraging to hear some of the stuff out of camp. I mean, we've heard Ryan, we've heard you talk about Zach Tom, other guys that are maybe like Royce slipping to right tackle and other things like that. Just different things you weren't really expecting. Jake Hansen at right guard, stuff like that. So it's encouraging to see that they have the confidence that they're willing to even try them at different positions. And if we know anything about the Packers, we know how to shuffle guys around and make our offensive line work. So I'm not too worried. Come the season, if we don't have Jenkins and Bakhtiari, then check with me again, because I might be a little bit a different answer.
Right. Yeah. And let's talk about receiver here for a second because you keep mentioning Winfrey. And when I look at Winfrey, I do think of him as one of the better receivers on the team. If it comes down to Amari Rodgers or Winfrey, just from a talent standpoint and where they're at right now, I'm probably choosing Winfrey over Amari Rodgers. But when you take into consideration the rookie contract that Amari Rodgers is on and Winfrey's just on this 1 year deal, what's the effect as far as label them as a restricted free agency. I don't know all of those details right now when it comes to Winfrey and how they could move forward with him. But if he does have one good year and blow up, then you lose him to free agency if you decide not to re-sign him, and now you've lost Amari Rodgers or whoever the cut would be. And I'm not suggesting they should cut Amari Rodgers. Just kind of using that as an example because we know in the past, they've carried 6 receivers, and right now I have Winfrey on the outside. That's assuming that Christian Watson won't go on the PUP list, right? And he's healthy for week 1, and we all want that, obviously. So, again, it comes down to like what we talked about on the pod. Do you cut one of those linebackers and only carry 4 inside linebackers and then carry Winfrey on the roster if indeed Christian Watson isn't on the PUP? There's just so many questions there, but I understand where you're coming from. I think Winfrey is one of the better receivers on this team. He's kind of proven that, and he's showing flashes, and he's got the confidence. I love the article I read the other day, man. I don't know if you've seen it, but Aaron Rodgers said he came in the huddle, said, all right, who's the X? And Winfrey jumped up to the front of the line, said, I'm the X. And Rodgers was like, all right, let's go.
That's what I was going to say is that necessarily I don't see Amari Rodgers and Winfrey competing for the same position. Winfrey is more of the X, and I think Rodgers is obviously more of the slot, obviously behind Cobb. So I don't really see them competing for necessarily the same position, although they may be competing for just a role on the team. And then you got guys like Malik Taylor, and Danny Davis is apparently showing out in camp. So who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, and Lazard, again, as a fantasy guy, if you guys do, Lazard's going to be the number 1. It's almost clear as day. Yep. I've known it. You've known it. A lot of people have known it. We just are hesitant to really say it but he's slimmed down. He looks great. And if you think about what Alan Lazard, if you even look at the games that Devontae missed, who's his other guy? It's Lazard. And even in the pregame and the postgame stuff that we broke down, who's number 2 usually on the targets list? Lazard. So it just only makes common sense to me logically that he's the guy that's going to fill into that role, slip into that role, and he takes it seriously. He's what is he, 6'4"? He runs a 4, whatever the heck. He's a big receiver that can move, and now he's slimmed down. So yeah, watch out, guys. Yeah, I think you're sleeping on him.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like I said, I think he's one of the better receivers on the team.
Yeah,
I'm one of those guys, man. I'm such a stickler for the rookie contracts. Like, well, if we drafted somebody, they need to make the roster. And that's probably not the right way to approach building a roster. Like Samori Toure, I kind of feel like there was almost as much buzz around him as there was Dobbs when the draft first happened. And we haven't heard anything about Toure. Have you heard anything? Or are you like me? He's just been kind of like non-existent so far in camp.
I've heard that he's doing well. And not to say that he's not doing well, but I think that the fact that the other receivers that were a little bit underrated are doing so well, like Winfrey, like Dobbs, like even Lazard, if you want to categorize him in that, and even Sammy Watkins, right? He's been sitting on the sideline. He, I think, just got back into the mix. And so people are kind of basically slating him and a few others before Samori Toure and kind of basically writing him off as a practice squad guy, which probably will happen. I do agree with that, but Ryan touched on the fact that Samari isn't doing like any return game type stuff, which we kind of figured he would. But he's a good receiver. But if I see him, even if we keep 7, I don't know how we keep Samari Toure. You know what I mean? Just I'd like to keep him on a practice squad type deal. But there's just so many guys in front of him that it's hard to justify keeping him on the roster.
I'm with you, dude. I do not see, unless there's some kind of injury or a PUP list addition, I do not see him.
Injuries for sure. I think they definitely bump him up. But besides that, I think he's just a practice squad guy, and he may even get snagged. He's like the Dobbs 2.0, like late round guy that people don't really trust. I mean, in Nebraska, he balled out, dude, and I think he went to a different smaller league before that, and he balled out there. So like everywhere he goes, he does well. So we'll see.
Right. Yeah. And as far as Zach Tom, I don't know, man, maybe it's wishful thinking. I'm getting my hopes up, but seeing him slide into that left tackle row has really got me fired up. Yeah, I mean they're seeing something there, and I did not have Zach Tom like I had him pretty high on my board, but I wasn't looking at Zach Tom like this is a guy we need. And I know Ryan was pounding the table for him, and then when
Yeah,
I
he
looked
was.
into the PFF and everything, I was like, holy cow, this dude has played some really good football at the collegiate level. I'm excited to see what Zach Tom can do. I think he's becoming more and more of a lock for the roster now. Rasheed Walker again. That's one of those rookie contracts where I'm kind of looking at it like I kind of have it. I'm gonna pick my mic up here. I apologize for the shuffling, but I kind of look at the offensive line going. Last year they kept what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They kept 10 offensive linemen. I have it being at left tackle, Bakhtiari, Zach Tom, and Rasheed Walker. Left guard, John Runyon, Sean Ryan. Center, Myers. Right guard, Newman and Hanson. And then at right tackle, Jenkins and Najman. That's if Bakhtiari and Jenkins are both healthy, right? If they're not, and let's say one of them goes on the PUP list, and I think you're sliding in Cole Van Lannon into that roster. But
which is
do you kind of
surprising.
see 10 offensive linemen as well?
I think we have to during this year, especially like you said, just with the unknowns. We arguably have two of the best offensive linemen in the NFL, and if we don't have them, then then we're scrounging. But I really, really do think that people are sleeping on what the Packers do in the draft with offensive linemen. Ryan, Tom, the year before, Newman, John Runyon Jr. Like these are guys that a lot of guys brushed off in the draft. They thought, well, we don't need this. Packers see something and they see diamonds in the rough, and we think if we can give them a year, maybe 2 years under a good coaching staff, under some good techniques, that they're going to perform. And I think that's pretty much shown true. Even like you look at, this is kind of off track here, but I saw a Twitter video of Luke Getsy teaching Justin Fields to literally do, I'm talking step for step, ball fake for ball fake, verbatim, the exact rollout ball fake that Rodgers does. And he's trying to teach Fields to do it with the same footwork. And they did a play-by-play of a split screen of Rodgers versus Fields. And it's just, they're completely copying us. And it's obviously they got Luke, so like he's going to, implement that game. And it just, in a way it makes me flattered, but in a way it makes me disgusted. You know what I mean? Like, you son of a bee, you stole our literal, like, verbatim. He's not even hiding it. He's like, do what Rodgers does. Do this footwork. Throw the ball at this point. Like, it's, again, it makes me a little bit mad, but.
Right. All right. So let's cover one more position here, and then we're going to get out of here. This is the most exciting position on the entire football field. Kicker. All right. Are we concerned about Mason Crosby having that knee scoped? Am I the only one that's kind of in the background going, this seems kind of different? Yeah. And
I'm concerned as hell because you know what? Gabe Burkick, or whatever the heck you say his name, he's 0 for 2, isn't he?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what I've seen
wide left or whatever the heck it was.
Yeah. I'm looking at it going, oh no. I hope Crosby seems to kind of downplay, the fact that he had it scoped and it sounds like he's going to be good. He even made a comment, something along the lines of, I've never missed a preseason game my entire career, so it ain't going to hurt to sit out a couple, finally. So and I've heard that scopes are no big deal at all. I've never had my knee scoped, but I've heard it's no big deal at all. But at the same time, I'm just like, could we not have done that a little bit earlier in the off season?
Right. Like, what are you doing in May? I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like, scope it then. Yeah, I agree. And like I said, Gabe Burkick, the fact that our diehard true and true kicker is hurt and is hoping he can get back by week 1 or by training camp, whenever it is, or preseason. And then the fact that our backup hasn't made a kick yet. Yeah, I'm freaking out a little bit because special teams last year, I don't know if you guys remember, kind of sucked, kind of ruined our whole season. So yeah, I'd like him to shore that up before the season starts for sure.
Absolutely, man. Well, good stuff, dude. I appreciate you joining me here, man. Like I said, guys, this was just kind of a little test run. We thought, you know what? Why not talk a little camp? We've been having these discussions offline. Let's throw it up on Twitter as a live stream and just kind of test the audio. We're going to be doing some cool stuff as the season moves along here. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. I know we've seen several people pop in. Really appreciate your time. Jacob, we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.